Throughout history, it's usually the front person of the group who gets all the attention, gets the girl, steals the show, right? Well, that's not always the case. In a lot of bands, it's actually one of the other members that's low-key the star of the group. My name's Alex Majewski, also known as JSky, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about bands whose front person is not the star of the group. So with that being said, let's get into this shit. First up on the list is one of my favorite bassists. It's not because he has nasty chops, it's more because of his swagger and really what he brings to the table, and that's Pete Wentz in the band Fall Out Boy. He is one of the founding members of the group with ties to the hardcore scene. He's from Chicago, and really when I think of Fall Out Boy, just the aesthetic is really Pete. With his Nightmare Before Christmas tattoos and his fucking tight hoodies and the stripes and all of that stuff, kind of being like a vampire boy. You would frequently see him as just like a heartthrob on J14 magazines in the early 2000s. It's not that the other members of the group aren't super talented, and I do believe that they needed each other to be as successful and great as they were. But when I think of Fall Out Boy, I think of Pete Wentz. He also was the main lyric writer for the group on what I would say would be their best records and most well known, which is From Under the Cork Tree and Take This to Your Grave. Amazing records. And Pete Wentz by far is the low-key, the front person of that group. Patrick didn't really want the attention coming in. He auditioned as the drummer. Turned out that he was an amazing vocalist with his shit and all that stuff that I can't do. And yeah, the group is amazing. I want to shout out Joe. I want to shout out Patrick. I want to shout out drummer Andy Hurley. Amazing group. Pete Wentz is a great example of a bass player who doesn't sing in the group and is who you think of, is who gets kind of all of the notoriety. Like oftentimes they'd send him out for the interviews. This is the first example on the list. Let me know what you think. Next up is Travis Barker from the band Blink-182. When he joined the group, he just changed up the game. His skill level on the drum set and his influences coming from a marching band background and having some jazz chops and things like that, he would just put different rudiments and different polyrhythms underneath their regular pop punk thing and just completely fucking melted everyone's faces. Not only did he come in with crazy mohawk and tattoos, and he was very captivating. It wasn't because he was so outgoing, it was more like, let the music do the talking. Obviously that spoke, and MTV offered him the show Meet the Barkers, which was early on when like everyone was getting shows about like being newlyweds and married and things like that. He was probably one of the first or second ones to have one of those shows. Later on, you could see his influence in the world and the fact that he is a star. He's on the Kardashians. He's producing every up-and-coming pop punk person in the new revival for pop punk since 2020. And this is just the example that I have right now is like the number 2 spot on this list. This isn't like a tier list or anything, by the way, but they're kind of all tier list. Another drummer for the number 3 spot is Tommy Lee from the band Motley Crue. You may know him from the movie Dirt that was played by Machine Gun Kelly. You may know him from his sex tape with his baby mama and former wife Pamela Anderson from fucking Baywatch. He's a good drummer, don't get me wrong. You don't think of Tommy Lee because you're like, wow, this dude's a sick drummer. He was just a fucking star. From everything he did in the media to the way he carried himself on stage, he would literally project himself out in the middle of the stage and like a 360 circular cage drumming solos upside down, and he's fucking sick from his appearance on Cribs with the koi pond in his backyard, and he had a Starbucks in the living room, and he's fucking Tommy Lee. He's also had some solo records. He had the song Naked, which just kind of pays homage to the sex tape, and then there was another record called Tommy Land the Ride, which I was actually a huge fan of. I think it's kind of an underrated record. It featured the singer of Nickelback, Chad Kroeger. It had Nick Carter from the Backstreet Boys. It had fucking Joel Madden from Good Charlotte. And the funniest thing is that there was a reality TV show called like Tommy Goes to College or something like that, and he went to the University of Nebraska. I don't even know if Tommy literally graduated high school, but now he's in college. He has a hot tutor, and they're promoting the record Tommy Land the Ride. It's not something you could find on his Spotify, but you could find it in my CD collection or on YouTube. I'll probably show a little clip in the video as well. And yeah, Tommy Lee's a fucking star, kind of what makes Motley Crue who and what they are. Next is a band that has one of the best guitar players in the world. Not only is the drummer his brother, but this is Van Halen and it's Eddie Van Halen. Van Halen's had a track record of having some really charismatic singers, whether we're starting with the original, which is David Lee Roth, then we had Sammy Hagar, then Gary Sharon from the band Extreme. All these singers in one way or another had some fucking star power, you know what I mean? They've done it independently, they've done it in so many different facets, but Eddie Van Halen, it's his band. You know, just the way he fucking runs around the stage and swings like a fucking acrobat. I think he's had like a hip replacement or 3. He's taking a cigarette and he's putting it in the neck of the guitar, like through the strings, while he's doing the craziest solos that anyone has ever seen. Van Halen is like fucking magic to guitar players in the 80s. He's done things that no one has ever done. He's definitely the star of that group. When I think of Van Halen, I think of him. It's not that anyone else in the group isn't stupid talented, because it's just a fucking amazing group. This is a really good example of a band has a star that is not the singer of the group, that is the guitarist of the group. He sings with his instrument. The next musician on this list, although it is his group, he's not a singer, and that's Carlos Santana. He takes more of the DJ approach like Calvin Harris or Avicii, featuring vocalists on the track like Rob Thomas, Michelle Branch, Everlast, and fucking amazing songs. They're catchy in their own right, but he just rips his guitar solos and he brings this Latin feel to everything that he does. When you hear his music, you just know it's him. Some would say, yeah, he's not the best guitar player. That's really just based on speed, but his virtuosity in the way that he plays melody and could just literally play guitar on top of an entire vocal and on top of an entire song is something that I would say most, if not any, guitar players could do that I could think of. He's just someone I felt like it was worth noting on this list. Not someone I've listened to in a while, but an amazing talent and someone that we are very grateful to have in music. Yeah, so it's been a fucking long week, guys. I am tired. So I hope this video is good. Next one on the list is another guitarist from the 80s. It's Neil Schon. I think I said his name right. It's Neil Schon from Journey. He is an amazing lead guitarist. The way he solos, whether they're little sections early in the song like in Don't Stop Believin', or just fucking solos that last for like almost a minute. Neil's credited as one of the biggest songwriters in the group. His guitar solos are mini hooks within hit songs. He's amazing. They're so memorable, and his parts and just his charisma on stage and the way he would be there with his curly hair, just smiling and looking fucking swaggy in the 80s in a cheesy fucking ballads band. When you think of the band Journey, you think of their amazing guitarist. You think of the ticka 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 in Don't Stop Believin'. The 70s and 80s was full of guitarists who stole the show. Some honorable mentions would have to be John Petrucci from the band Dream Theater, Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin, Nuno of Extreme, and a million others. Come to think of it, I'm definitely gonna have to make a video that's just talking about amazing guitar players in all different time periods of music, whether that's the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. So if there's someone specific that you'd like me to talk about in a future video, let me know in the comments and I'll definitely try to make that happen. Next up is ACDC with the guitarist Malcolm Young. I think something special happens when you have two relatives, two brothers in a band that work together to make their dreams happen. You see that in ACDC, you see it in Van Halen, you see it in Good Charlotte, and you see it in some other bands that I'm probably gonna mention towards the end of the list. ACDC has amazing songs, but guitar playing is really what you think of. He's been inspiring to so many guitar players. It's some of the first songs that anyone learns to play is like Back in Black or Hell's Bells, but just the basic cowboy chords like an open D chord, an E, an A, those basic chords, the way that Malcolm plays it could be ripped off, and you could be like, yo, you were ripping him off. Just he goes, dan, 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 dan. Just that alone, you're like, it's fucking AC/DC. And for those reasons, just the way he'd run around the stage, he's the fucking star of that group. The singer was great with his hey, 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 hey. Typical copyright law is only for the lyrics and melody, but songs like Back in Black or Sweet Home Alabama by Leonard Skinner are so iconic, even by using simple cowboy chords, that I think that they would be the exception. Next is a band that I would see the music videos on MTV, MTV2 all the time. I'm sure people that are like diehard fans of the band would know every member's name, but for me, when I watched the videos, I was just drawn to the redheaded drummer. He would sing backup vocals, and he was fucking nasty on the drums, and that's Aaron Gillespie from the band Under Oath. He was also in the band The Almost, amazing songwriter, stupid talented, kind of took the Dave Grohl approach when he left Nirvana, and he went on to found the Foo Fighters. That's kind of what Aaron did. And I think he's definitely worth noting in this video because he's stupid talented. Some other modern bands whose front person is not really the star of the group would be like Misha from Periphery or Tim Henson from Polyphia. Oh fuck, they don't have a singer, so scratch that. Last but not least is an amazing metal band. Another one with brothers. It's Dimebag Darrell and the band Pantera. The whole band is so talented. They had some amazing songs. His playing is really what drew everyone to the music, with his pinch harmonics and his dive bombs and just the way he would hold himself on stage with the fucking camo shorts and just super like in your face, white trash, aggressive shit. Phil was a really captivating singer, and he had his own thing going on. If you've seen some interviews of him from back in the day, he was like so fucking hot that I think they had him like medicated sitting in the chair. So I don't know what the deal with that is. Later on, there was a tragic ending with Dimebag Darrell, and he was actually taken from us at a live performance in Florida when the band dismantled and they had a second group, which was Damaged Plan. Someone came on stage with a shotgun, took him out. Security, like seconds later, took that person out. It's a real loss to everybody. He's been so influential to me. Definitely my friend Metal Eddie. He literally plays like a fucking Dean his whole life. He has like a Dean tattoo. Not of a Razorback, he is like the V, but it looks just like Dime's guitar for the most part. I wanted to mention Dimebag Darrell because he's very influential to Zakk Wylde, to me, to a gazillion people, and he's by far the star of the group. When I think of Pantera, I pretty much think of a band that is using all their best efforts to support Dimebag Darrell, and I think that was something that was known within the group, and that's just kind of what it is. So thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know if there's any bands that front person was low-key not the front person. There's another member who is really the star. My name's Alex Majewski, also known as JSky. I make these videos weekly. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Follow me on Instagram, subscribe to the channel. Until next week, peace.